Fill up a Ford Expedition today and it will cost you over $80. Do that every week for a year and you are spending over $4,000 just on fuel. That math was already rough before oil exploded past $100 a barrel, but now it is getting worse fast. Gas jumped 27 cents a gallon in just 1 week, and Goldman Sachs says it could hit $5 if the Strait of Hormuz stays closed. When fuel gets that expensive, buyers stop shopping for trucks, and auction prices collapse. Right now, 7 Ford trucks are bleeding value at wholesale, and the data shows exactly how much they are losing. Ford was already sitting on a massive inventory problem before oil prices moved. Dealers had a supply of trucks that would last over 100 days on their lots through most of 2025, compared to an industry average closer to 80. And Ford still had over 5,000 unsold 2023 model year trucks sitting on dealer lots as late as November 2024. That is a problem unique to Ford in the truck market. So when you layer a fuel price shock on top of chronic oversupply, heavy new vehicle incentives, and a wave of fleet returns hitting auction every month, you get the kind of depreciation spiral we are watching right now. If this kind of market breakdown is useful to you, tap that subscribe button. We cover the US car market every week with real data, no dealer spin. Number 7. The Ford Ranger. This one might surprise you because the Ranger actually holds its value better than any other truck on this list. Historically, it loses about 34.9% of its value over 5 years, which beats the truck segment average of 40.4%. Sales were actually up 26% year over year in January 2026. So why is it here? The competitive landscape just shifted underneath it. The completely redesigned Toyota Tacoma now dominates mid-sized truck resale values, losing just 26% over 5 years. That is a meaningful gap, and iSeeCars ranked the Ranger among the top 25 vehicles with the lowest 5-year depreciation overall, but the new Tacoma still beats it handily. Early adopters of the new generation Ranger may start seeing faster depreciation than those historical averages suggested, especially as more Tacomas hit the used market and set the benchmark for what a mid-sized truck should hold. The silver lining for Ranger buyers is fuel economy. With an EPA rating of 21 to 26 miles per gallon, depending on configuration, the Ranger's annual fuel bill at current gas prices lands around $2,000 to $2,500. That is meaningfully less than every full-size truck on this list. When gas is climbing and buyers are doing the math on total cost of ownership, the Ranger's smaller footprint becomes a real advantage. It is the lowest risk pick if you need a truck, but want to limit your exposure to rising gas costs, and if the oil shock turns out to be temporary, its stronger historical resale value means you will not lose your shirt on the way out. Number 6. The Ford F-250 Super Duty. This one is tricky because it actually moves fast at auction. CarEdge data shows the Super Duty was the fastest-selling truck in America in February 2026. And percentage-wise, it holds value reasonably well at roughly 45% depreciation over 5 years. So where is the problem? The problem is the starting price. The average new F-250 sells for $72,489. When you apply that 45% depreciation, you are looking at over $32,000 evaporated in 5 years. That is more in raw dollars than many trucks lose at higher depreciation rates. And with diesel models averaging just 15 to 18 miles per gallon, fuel costs at current prices are adding real pain on top of that depreciation. There is a structural tailwind worth noting, though. Ford builds 100% of its Super Duty trucks domestically in Kentucky and Ohio, which means the 25% tariff on medium and heavy-duty trucks imported from Mexico and Canada actually helps Ford here. Chief Executive Officer Jim Farley publicly thanked the administration for the policy, and the F-350 specifically retains 74.6% of its value, the best of any Ford model because commercial and work use demand stays strong regardless of gas prices. If you need a heavy-duty truck and want to hold value, the F-350 is the one to target. If you are learning something from this breakdown, drop a like. It helps more people find this kind of analysis. Number 5. The Ford F-150 XLT and Lariat. The F-150 is the best-selling vehicle in America, which is exactly why it depreciates faster than you might expect. iSeeCars calculates 43.4% depreciation after 5 years, equivalent to roughly $16,236 lost. The truck segment average is 40.4%, so the F-150 underperforms its own category. CarEdge's methodology is even harsher, putting the number closer to 49 to 51%, ranking the F-150 as the single worst value-retaining pickup among major competitors. For comparison, the Toyota Tacoma loses just 26%, and the Tundra loses 29.1%. The volume problem tells the story. There were over 116,000 units of old F-150 stock available, taking an average of 115 days to sell. F-Series sales actually declined 3% in the fourth quarter of 2025 while the overall truck segment grew. When you combine that kind of oversupply with heavy new vehicle incentives, constant fleet returns hitting auction, and now rising fuel costs, you get relentless downward pressure on used values. At $3.48 per gallon, the F-150's 2.7-liter EcoBoost costs about $2,800 annually in fuel. The 5-liter V8 costs closer to $3,200. Every dime gas rises makes the value proposition harder to defend at auction. Number 4. The Ford Explorer. A lot of people forget the Explorer is built on Ford's truck-based rear-wheel drive platform, so it gets hit by the same fuel cost dynamics as the full-size trucks. And the depreciation numbers reflect that. The Explorer loses 52.9% of its value over 5 years, which is worse than the mid-size SUV segment average of 50.1% and worse than the all-vehicle average of 45.5%. CarEdge data shows that driving a new Explorer off the lot means losing over 25% of its value in just 2 years. A $50,000 Explorer purchased new becomes a roughly $23,500 vehicle at the 5-year mark. Competition is crushing it from every direction. The Toyota Grand Highlander, Hyundai Palisade, and Kia Telluride all hold value significantly better, and buyers in this segment are increasingly cross-shopping those models first. Ford's quality issues compound the problem. The company recalled 12.9 million vehicles across 153 separate campaigns in 2025, more than any other automaker, and the Explorer has been subject to multiple recalls of its own. Consumer Reports reliability ratings place Ford's SUV lineup in the bottom quarter of all vehicles for value retention. A March 2026 recall alone covered 4.4 million Ford vehicles for trailer module software failures that affected brake and signal functionality. When buyers see that kind of recall history attached to a vehicle that is already depreciating faster than its competitors, it makes the used Explorer a harder sell at every price point. At auction, Explorers sit alongside the Expedition as Ford's SUV depreciation leaders. We are past the halfway point, and the trucks from here on are losing serious money. If this data is helping you make better car decisions, subscribe. It takes about 1 second and means you will not miss the next breakdown. Number 3. The Ford F-150 Platinum, King Ranch, and Limited. Higher F-150 trims depreciate meaningfully faster than the base models. iSeeCars data shows Platinum, King Ranch, Lariat, and Limited trims losing 45.2% after 5 years versus 43.4% for the F-150 overall. That gap might look small as a percentage, but because these trims start at $65,000 to $85,000 and up, the dollar losses are massive. A Platinum losing 45.2% sheds roughly $38,000 in value over 5 years. Forum users talk openly about buying certified pre-owned King Ranches specifically to let someone else absorb that initial $30,000 hit. The Ford inventory glut makes this worse. When dealers have thousands of 2024 and 2025 Platinums and King Ranches sitting on lots with 0% financing and thousands in rebates, used examples at auction simply cannot compete on price. The luxury trim F-150 is the textbook example of a truck you should let someone else buy new. At auction right now, plenty of people already did. Number 2. The Ford Expedition and Expedition Max. The Expedition was already one of Ford's worst depreciators before gas prices started climbing, and now the math just keeps getting uglier. iSeeCars data shows the standard Expedition loses 56.9% of its value after 5 years, which is worse than the large SUV segment average. The Expedition Max is even harder hit, ranked among the 25 fastest depreciating vehicles of any type, shedding roughly 60% or $36,692 in 5 years. A $70,000 Expedition Platinum can lose over $40,000 in that span. With gas currently at $3.48 a gallon and rising, the Expedition's 17 to 19 miles per gallon combined rating translates to annual fuel costs exceeding $3,000. If gas reaches $4.50 a gallon, that number pushes past $4,000. For a vehicle already bleeding resale value, those running costs make the total ownership picture genuinely painful. At auction, 3-year-old Expeditions now represent massive discounts from their original sticker price, but fuel economics will keep suppressing demand as long as oil stays elevated. Number 1. The Ford F-150 Lightning. No vehicle in America is losing value faster right now. The Lightning sheds roughly 55 to 56% of its value within 5 years, and the real-world near-term losses are even more brutal. Owners of 2022 Lightning Platinums who paid $90,000 now hold vehicles worth $35,000 to $43,000. That is a loss approaching $50,000 in barely 3 years. A 2024 Platinum owner with only 5,400 miles on the odometer received a highest bid of just $51,500 after 12 months, a $33,000 haircut in 1 year. Used extended range Lightnings now cluster in the $40,000 to $45,000 range, regardless of trim level. The collapse has clear causes. Ford discontinued Lightning production in December 2025 after losing money on every single unit sold, taking a $19.5 billion write-down on its entire electric vehicle division. The loss of the $7,500 federal electric vehicle tax credit in October 2025 cratered demand further. Ford cut 2026 Lightning prices by $2,000 to $4,000, but without the tax credit, the effective cost to buyers actually went up. Consumer Reports scored Lightning reliability at 28 out of 100. If you found this useful, subscribe so you do not miss the next one. We break down the vehicles, the data, and the market moves that matter before you buy, sell, or trade. I will see you in the next video.